This section leads you through the process of formal lesson observation. Over the course of Year 1, there are 7 formal lesson observations to be completed on your mentee. Some of these are done by yourself, some by the course team, and some by the student's teaching mentor. If you look at this document, it will tell you which observation should be done by which person. The dates listed are dates to be done by, so the observation must be completed by that date. It will also let you know whether the observation is formative or summative. If an observation, like all those done by the subject mentor, are listed as formative, it means that it's not graded pass or fail, and you should be giving supportive developmental feedback only. Whether an observation is formative or summative, when it comes to grading and remarking on the trainee's performance, you should be using this document here. This is a listing of the LLUK standards, which are the overarching professional standards for the lifelong learning sector. Use this when you are assessing your trainee's performance. It will guide you through what they're supposed to be achieving in each of the components, such as planning and assessment, and it will also give you a set of helpful hints as to what you should look for and comment on during your observation feedback. For each of the summative observations, and we are also suggesting the formative observations, should be planned using this lesson planner. All students have been given a copy of this document. We are advising that they use it for formative and insisting that they use it for summative observations on the grounds that it covers all of the planning areas required to pass a lesson observation. When you are providing feedback on the lesson observation, you should use this document. You'll find the document inside your Subject Mentor's Handbook. Pages 22, 23 and 24 are the lesson observation feedback form. Use this to write feedback on what you see during the observation. We do encourage students to reflect upon and evaluate their performance during all 7 observations. In the case of summative observations, and also we do strongly suggest during formative observations, it is essential that students have reflected upon and evaluated their performance. They should do this in the final section of the lesson plan. It's only when this evaluation has been completed and submitted to you and approved that a pass grade can be awarded during a summative observation. In terms of observed sessions, over the 2 years we like to visit and observe the widest possible range of a trainee's delivery. So if your mentee is working with a range of group sizes, ages, subjects and group levels, over the 2 years we would expect to see the widest range of those possible. An observed session needs to be an hour's teaching which has been planned and delivered or co-delivered by the mentee concerned. They must plan it using the lesson planner, which must be provided to you before the session starts. When we say an hour's session, if you wish, you can drop in to see the second hour of a 3-hour session, the first half hour and last half hour of a 4-hour session. It's just important that an hour's teaching or training is observed. This can be one-to-one work, small group work, whole group work with large or small groups. We've spoken about using the observation form to log feedback. We'll also expect you to give your mentee verbal feedback after the observation. Ideally, this should be done as soon as possible, and certainly on the day if you can possibly do it. Find a quiet time after the session to sit down with your mentee, explain the written feedback that you've given, give them supportive comments and pointers for improvement. At the end of the session, the lesson planner, any paper-based resources and your feedback with evaluation completed where necessary should be filed in the trainee's portfolio by your mentee. As well as being observed 7 times during the course of the first year, your mentee will also have to go and observe other lecturers in order to widen their experience of professional practice. We call these peer observations. During Year 1, your mentee will undertake 3 peer observations, and these need to be done by the time shown on the schedule. Ideally, these peer observations should be of 3 different people and 3 different teaching or training scenarios. The object is to give your mentee the widest range of observation during the 2 years of the course. During a peer observation, your mentee will observe a session of about an hour, and they will use the lesson observation feedback form that is used on them to report back. The person being observed in the peer observation doesn't have to complete any of the usual paperwork such as a lesson planner, though it will be helpful if they give your student copies of resources that are being used during the lesson. Obviously, these observations are not graded as a pass-fail. Your job as a subject mentor might be to have one of the observations done of your practice. However, if it's more appropriate, you should signpost useful people that the mentee can go to see to widen their range of experience. This might be, for example, somebody who's making innovative use of IT, somebody who's particularly good at classroom management, or somebody that's using some interesting resources. It's up to your mentee to decide who they want to observe on their peer observations, but it will be useful if you could guide them towards useful personnel. In terms of logging peer observations, all that your mentee needs to do is to put their completed observation feedback form into their portfolio for all 3 observations.